Recently, we have seen governments and GLCs retrenching workers. There is a growing concern that private sector employers would cite these examples. How do we assure workers?
I think it's wrong for the government to say, please don't retrench. Times are bad, you may be setting a bad example. There's never a good time to retrench, except when the economy is bouncing and there are more jobs than there are workers. But at this present moment, companies are at risk. If you don't retrench, you don't make yourself trim, you are in trouble. Let me explain. It's unpleasant, it's unhappy, but at the end of the day, just like Greenspan said, I can't tell you, I can't forecast what new jobs there will be, but there will be because we will move up the technology ladder. Life is a relentless process of attrition. I mean, whether it is, I don't know if you watch Discovery Channel or you see how animals fight for food. Human beings also fight for survival. Human beings within a society, human beings as tribes, human beings as nation groups. If we are not well organized, we are not able to pay our way, our standard of living will just go down. People will leave. Why does Singapore, with a population of 3 million, have an added 1 million? You just think. Because we are productive. Because we can pay you more than your own country can pay you. We have jobs for you. And still, we make some profit out of it. Ask yourself this simple question. Land in Batam, what is it worth? If you can cut off a part of Batam and stick it to Singapore, the price will go up a few hundred times if you put it outside Marina Bay. Right? You can't do that, so we buy sand and add to Marina Bay. Why? Because we have a society that's adjusting and getting up the technology ladder, making itself useful to the world. And from time to time, we suffer pain. You take PSA. Can PSA survive? Yes, beyond a doubt. But can PSA survive on the old method, on the old pay structures, on the old establishments, carrying extra staff? No, it will die. Because Merck has gone to Tanjong Pelapas, cheap land, cheap labor. It has got the expertise and will undercut us. But ours are already sunk costs, all those berths and cranes. If we trim down our operations, become more productive, we will be able to pay our workers more than Tanjong Pelapas workers can get, and we will still be competitive. If not, we close PSA. That's the answer. The day you can't adjust and change, that day you begin to shrivel and die. That's all. I mean, the day I'm unable to learn new things, I'm out of touch with the world. Then I'm useless. But as long as I can stay abreast with events, learning new ways of working, then I can draw on my wealth of experience, data, which I can use to make a contribution which a younger fellow, more active, but less experienced cannot come to the same conclusion. So my answer to you is the wrong approach if you believe that we can survive because since we are GLC or government, please, we can afford to be inefficient. It's wrong.
I cannot understand what SIEC is trying to do. And the boys are asking, why are the Filipinos still here when we are losing our jobs? And we are doing the same work at lower pay. We are all taking lower pay than the Filipinos. But they are still in existence. And they are still working until this very day. You know how difficult it is for us to explain to our members?
I'm not in a position to know the details of these Filipino workers in question. And the fact that this Filipino can be paid more and they still employ him, there must be a special reason, otherwise it doesn't make sense to me. If we get rid of all foreign workers, tomorrow, let's say, we say, right, in 1 year, all foreign workers of this category will go because we've got these unemployed Singaporeans who must be employed. I think our economy will go down in a tailspin. I'm not saying Singaporeans are lazy and not willing to work shifts or 12-hour work or don't want to go to workforce in Jurong because transport is too long and costly and so on. We have on our books 89,000 unemployed. There are 200,000 jobs which they can do. And they don't want to do. And we understand it, but we're trying to get them to understand that maybe their old job may not come back at all. Most likely they haven't gone to China. I can give you a whole list because I wanted to bring myself up to date, so I said, which other jobs they can do, not too dangerous, not too harsh. And there are several thousand jobs which they don't want to do. Landscaping, horticulture, scaffolding, yes. Going up on the scaffolding, that I understand. It's a bit dangerous. You fall down and stand on it. But going into the house, into the built-up flat, fitting in, electrical fittings, etc. They're not wanting to do it. So we have work permit holders and they change, and sometimes the tiles are not fitted properly. Why can't we do that? I think we have to change our methods. Maybe we were at fault. We didn't send them to a building school. IT now trying to teach them so that they will become specialists in the trade. No, the Australian building industry is done completely by Australians and very cost effective because they were trained, specialized, everything prefab, well done. So we got to redesign jobs, try and find some way to do many of these things ourselves. But my answer to you is, I understand how much pain it is. What can we do? We've got to go through this. I do not believe SATs are doing something stupid because they must produce results. We have an MP who was retired. He was in SATs. So he's been given early retirement. Try to find him a job. He's still active, in his 60s. I think we will, but eventually, but not at this moment. At this moment, he's got to live off his golden handshake. But it is the price we have to pay for the adjustments that we make from A to B. This is a bad period. We've got to go through it. We'll go through it and we'll come out on top. But we do things in a sensible way. Don't let the economy go down. Whatever else we do, our companies must be competitive and stay competitive. If they are dead, there are no jobs for anybody. And SIA is under great pressure. You know, you have brought down your fares. You have suffered enormous losses. When are you able to put your fares up to the level pre-SARS? Can you? That's quite a problem. So I'm sorry if I cannot give you a simple answer, yes, let's sack the Filipino. Can't be done.
Sunday on We Mean.
Many workers cannot see the link between the FTA and how it's going to help them. Could you please, sir, explain how FTA and other FTA are going to help us?
NatSteel makes different kinds of steel products. Electronics. They could not sell from Singapore because of the tax in America. We didn't have an FTA. So they went to Mexico and they were able to sell to America because Mexico has an FTA with America. Once we have an FTA with America, many of our products will go in zero tariff. So not only are American investors going to come here, many investors from Japan, Europe will come here, make here and sell to America and to Japan because we've got FTA with Japan, with Australia and New Zealand. We'll probably get one with China and another one with India. So every FTA gives us an edge over other countries that hasn't got FTA. That expands our catchment, drawing in investments and selling our products. If we didn't have them, if it doesn't do us any good, you wouldn't find the Malaysians and the Thais and the Filipinos scrambling to get FTAs.
We can find a group of people, underclass workers, who will be living just maybe around the, what you call, poverty line. So in your feeling, sir, what can we do for these people and how do you feel for these people?
I cannot tell you how difficult it is when you're faced with some unsolvable problems. And some of these problems are not solvable, at least for the present. Let me explain. There are, if you go by the HDB figures and power and gas utilities, there are about 5% of the population that's always in trouble. Not paying the water and light bills, some of them turning up at NPS sessions, wanting help. And many of them are not solvable problems. Especially women left without husbands and a family. How do you do it? Long term, educate the women so that in the end they can get a job and look after themselves and not have so many children when they can't afford it. For the males, nobody, as I've told you, there are 5,000 jobs for agricultural and horticultural workers. We have 500 farms looking for these workers. No, sorry. We have 127 farms looking for 500 workers. Can't find them. $1,500 a month. So you tell me you can't live on $1,500 if you're prepared to do the work? I don't believe it. You've got to make the effort. We can take the Western approach, like the Germans, and just give you unemployment benefits. I think you'll find our reserves just shrinking like that. And we'll have precious little cushion after that. We have got to develop, without the resources to fall back on, oil wells or gas fields, timber forests. We have got to develop a very hardy society where everybody takes care of himself and his family, and we make sure that he can take care of himself and his family. But if you don't do so, we can't help you. You know, MPS sessions, man comes in, or woman comes in, can't pay bills, but has a mobile phone. I mean, where's your priority? So we have hard luck stories, yes, but down and out stories, they're really troublesome. What do you do? Woman uneducated, 3 children, left with no husband, left her. A real hardship case. In the end, you just got to support them. So we offer some solutions to have small families, no takers. We give you a flat free of charge, plus all kinds of subsidies for the rest of your life if you stop at 2 for those without more than primary school education. No takers. And they are a problem. And all of us got to pay taxes to solve this problem, which is growing because they have more children than anybody else. You ask me how to do it. I've got no answer to that.
There is a presumption that in the current economic downturn, due to the September 11, also with the GI in Singapore, more Malay workers, difficulty to get a job. Furthermore, more Malay workers were retrenched. This causes grave concerns among the community. Can I have your reaction, please, sir?
Well, this has troubled me because many MPs report that they're getting more Malays coming for help about jobs. So the impression is growing that there's more Malay retrenchments in proportion to the population than Chinese. So I called for the figures. The latest is just on my computer. I didn't print it out before I came here. But I've got enough figures here. Not much change in the latest I read, but I think the Malay MPs are privy to this knowledge because we've got to make sure that everybody understands what the position is so we don't go on rumors. Retrenchments in relative to the proportion of the workforce, Malays are between 11 to 14%. The Chinese is 78% of the workforce and 82% of the retrenchments. Indians, 7% of workforce, 7% of retrenchments. So it's not true that they are being retrenched at a higher proportion than the Chinese or the Indians. But what is true is that as there are more Malays in the lower end jobs because of the lack of higher education qualifications, they are more liable to retrenchments. Now, what is also true is that within 12 months of retrenchment, getting a job, re-employment, the Chinese score 74%. The Malays score 69%. and the Indians score 67%. So there is a difference of 5% between 74 and 69 for Malays, and there's a difference of 7%, 74 to 67 for Indians. These are market forces which the employer is looking for a new chap. He's got an he goes to the labor ministry, he's given a list, he chooses. I've also heard another reason that this is particularly for the women workers. They complain that when the employer asks them, do you wear a tudong? And when they say yes, and the employer says, I'm looking for a Chinese. Well, this is a problem. I mean, we live in a multiracial society. It's got certain fixed ideas of what things should be like, and they say, well, you've got a tudong, you're troublesome. So I prefer one without. We have to live with these problems. The long-term answer is to get our Malays better educated, and especially the women. I'm very concerned, because as long as they're not well educated and they get abandoned by their husbands, that's a real problem. If they are educated, they'll be able to look after themselves. I see that as one solution. But your impression that Malays are being more retrenched than the others is not correct by the figures, which is reassuring.
Thank you.